everyone to do is put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach, and we're all gonna do some breathing together, okay? So breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, and breathe out. And breathe in, and breathe out. And what we've all done here in this moment, breathing, is co-regulating our emotions. So I've invited you in to share in that experience with me, and now I'm feeling more calm, I'm feeling more grounded, and we can move forward. I know that seems very hippy-dippy, but I swear, I promise, it's grounded in science. It is something that you can do with your significant other, it's something you can do with your coworkers, and it's non-invasive, and now we are all calmer together.
So when I was doing my MBA and feeling really stressed out, I got into yoga and was watching this video for, it was like de-stress yoga, right? And she does this breathing technique with and by the end of the yoga video, I did this one, where you reach out, you go, I don't know, Warrior 3 or something, and I just started crying. Like I couldn't, it was like the stress just left my body in the tears. And I wish I could have like packaged them up and like saved them for later. But yeah, breathing, man, really helps.
So something that's really cool in neuroscience is that once you are mentally aware of something happening, it's already happened in the past. Your body has already experienced it. So now you are justifying it, you are trying to figure it out because that has already happened to you.
Seriously. I can't write that fast enough. It's already in the past. All right. So let's go back. Let's double back. The topic for today that you gave us was mental performance under pressure and the idea of training the mind like a muscle. So let's just take a minute there and make sure we're all on the same page with what you mean by that.
Okay, so I have a master's in performance psychology. Most people are like, what is that? It comes from sports psychology, but it encompasses sports, business, performing arts, anything high pressure. So thinking everything from like an elite athlete, someone who's trying to perform on a field, all the way through to like an electrician who's on a 10-story building and they're hanging off the side and they have to make sure everything is working and everything's functioning. So we all experience pressure in different ways and different capacities. So training your mind is all about, okay, what skills do I need in order to show up to the best of my abilities, to be sustainable, to be able to perform in repetition, so doing the same motion over and over again and still getting the same outcome. So it's all about practice. So thinking of it in the context of sports, you don't show up on the field one day and you know exactly how to execute what you're trying to do. You practice it off the field, you practice it in life, you practice it in the gym. So all of this preparation that goes into that high pressure moment, you already have that confidence and you know that you can perform when you show up.
Okay, are we good? I think everybody on the same page? So let's dig into, oh, there you go, their fake mic.
This does feel like a fake mic. Does that like process have like a name or a framework that we can recall? Or
It's
is
under
it just
performance psychology is probably the best way to connect with it or find it, Google it. Mental performance coaching, mental performance, anything is really like the subject matter domain. Yeah.
Okay, so in the description for this, for this week's subject, you mentioned burnout. Are we talking about burnout? Is that what this is?
Burnout is the result of not having that preparation in place to safeguard you. So burnout typically comes from, and I'm talking in generalizations, it's very unique, very different for every individual, but burnout is, too much. It's doing too much, it's not having good enough boundaries, it's, all of these things combined to where you haven't set the foundation so that you can succeed and thrive in what you're doing.
Okay, excellent. So we also we have to be talking about stress.
Yep.
and regulation.
Yep.
Dig in, dude.
So talking about how our bodies have experienced things before we start like putting it into our mind, stress, your body is reacting to something. You have stressors, and that burnout or that stress, something becoming stressful, is your body not knowing what to do with that energy, where to put that energy, put that information. Because at the end of the day, all of this is data. That's why in the description it talks about technology and processes, is because your body is a data center. I've been actually more so talking about how your body, your brain included, your entire body is like your cell phone. It's the hardware. Your mind is the software. It's the apps that are on it. So you have the ability to interpret that data in one way or another. You have the apps that support you through different systems and processes. And if you haven't built out those systems and processes, if you don't have those apps and you don't have them readily available for what you need at that time, it becomes energy and stress that you absorb, or trauma that you absorb into your body.
We'll get to trauma.
It's all connected. But it's stuff that you absorb into your system. And so without having a way to process it, to manage it, to regulate it, then it becomes a problem.
What's your favorite way of all the possible ways to start regulating stress? Like, give us something that we could do today to start regulating. What's your favorite thing?
Breathing.
Oh, okay. Fair
Right?
point, yeah.
That's where we started,
Okay.
right? It's breathing. Like, it's the one thing that we don't think about doing, but it's the most essential to everything that we do.
When you all started breathing, I closed my eyes. I don't know if everybody else did, but I closed my eyes. Did anybody, as you were doing that, notice something else going on with your body? Did anybody pay attention and catch where your body was in that moment? I would love to hear if anybody was really cognizant of like where their body was at.
So for me, when I came in here, there's a lot of thoughts and my brain was kind of going crazy. My body's here, but there wasn't a sense of alignment between the two. And so by doing that exercise, I felt like my feet are where they are. I'm grounded, and I could take like a pause and a beat to
Did I see
really
another
have
hand
this
that somebody else
experience be
was gonna share?
enhanced.
Oh, Dean's gonna. All right. And look at him come get the mic. He's a good Business Brew participant.
I took like more intentional breaths, so like slower, deeper breaths
Awesome,
than
thank
what
you.
I would otherwise
Anybody
be
else?
taking.
We'll do one more. Oh, Dave says.
I just think that there's something that will come over your body if you allow for it and you invite it in. So for me, it's kind of a vibration that just goes all through all of the cells and everything. And
I
it's
noticed,
like my
and
body
I'm trying
saying,
to tee you up
"Thank
here,
you."
that I've done probably 40 of these business brews. It doesn't make me nervous, but as I was breathing, I realized I was all clenched, right? And as I started breathing, you talked about this a little bit, I was realizing my body was up here, and I don't want to be up here the whole time, so I realized my shoulders dropped, my hands unclenched because you had us do this, and I don't know that I would have caught that if you hadn't asked us to do that.
But that's the point.
Right.
Is that like we all are caught up in our day-to-day. We're all on the move. We're all doing stuff. But at what point in time do we reassess like, oh wait, am I in my body? Am I experiencing this moment? Am I connected with what's going on internally, or am I just existing? And so that's always a good place to start. And if I can jump the gun a little bit
Do it.
into trauma.
That was the next question. You're fine.
Is that there's a lot. So first I want to define trauma.
Yeah.
That trauma is too much, too soon, and too often. That is very different for every single person. And so something can be trauma. We don't avoid adversity. Resilience is being able to bounce back. So if we don't have the support systems and the network that we need to take something and make it not trauma, it becomes traumatic. And especially for women, but a lot of people who have experienced trauma will have out-of-body experiences. They will be disconnected from their body, disconnected from their system. So the second part of that, in addition to breathing, is stretching.
Really?
Stretching is one of the most essential ways for anyone who has experienced trauma to get back into their body, into their system. So it's so critical for most people to just stretch every day. That could be just in your seat, at your desk. I love and appreciate yoga, but yoga, I hated yoga so much for the longest time. I was raised in gymnastics, so I'm like, I will stretch over here and you hold your pose for 10 minutes. Like, so it's all about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
And I bring this back to the idea of trying new foods. Like sometimes you'll try new foods and you're like, oh, this is so gross. I'm never tasting this again. Other times you'll try new foods and you're like, okay, well, that was not my favorite flavor, but I'll try it again. And so that's like, whether it's yoga, whether it's Pilates, whether it's just stretching at home by yourself, you have to try these things to see what works for you. Don't follow, like the number one thing I always say, the key takeaway, if you take away anything from this, don't follow the bullshit online, because it's the BS influencers who are like, you have to do this, you have to meditate every day, you have to do yoga 5 days a week, and that's all just trash, because one size doesn't fit all. We all have different experiences in life. We all come from different backgrounds, different generations, different race, religions, whatever it is, nationalities. We all have different foundations of where we came into this world and how we've grown in this world. And so it's not a one size fit all.
I need to double click on your definition of trauma. You can laugh at that. I meant that ironically and sarcastically. Your definition to me, two things. One, saying too much, too soon, too often broadens for me what I thought trauma was or how I identified it. So that's one. The second thing is, it feels like, and if I get emotional during this, it's only because I had face shingles recently and I'm dealing with all the, like what I'm processing through that, right?
Sure.
Like that was a result of burnout and stress and all that stuff. But the second thing, your definition, I think it gives more people more permission to acknowledge that they've had trauma. I think sometimes we put trauma almost on this pedestal and it has to be really traumatic, like what we see on TV or hear about, to qualify. And so a lot of people just go, well, that's not trauma. That's, something else. It's an inconvenience. But your definition broadens that and also gives us permission to acknowledge that we have trauma.
But that's why I differentiate trauma versus something being traumatic.
Okay.
So a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, something happened and I was like emotional beyond belief. That same day, I called my best friend. Then the next day I called my mom. And now I can't tell you what that thing was because it wasn't ingrained in me as a traumatic event, but it was some kind of trauma in my life. And so it really comes down to your resources and foundations as to what becomes traumatic. And things that become traumatic are usually things that we feel like we're alone and we're isolated and we are not connected. Like one of I love Avatar, the first movie, not like the sequences after necessarily, but the first Avatar where they like, if you've seen it, they plug like their hair into the tree of life. Like at the end of the day, we are all connected in some way. And so anytime we talk about grounding, that is connecting with the ground, connecting with the earth, connecting, like it's those connections that matter so much more than the thing that we went through. It's when we feel isolated, when we isolate ourselves a lot of the time, right? It's that becomes traumatic. It's not the thing that happened itself.
But isn't that the opposite of what we tend to do? Something, whether it's a trauma or something traumatic, you said traumatic, we feel alone, right? We feel isolated. And the tendency, isn't it to just stay in that place? My trauma has isolated me from my network or from my people and I don't want to share it.
Okay, how deep do you want to go into this?
I mean, I don't know. Where do you guys? I mean, do we want to go? Let's go.
Because
Heather said yes.
That is the shame associated with what happened, right?
Yeah.
So I will, because I am comfortable in my own skin and comfortable with my boundaries, I've established pretty firm boundaries. I can sit here before you and say that I have been essayed multiple times. If you need an explanation, go do that yourself.
Okay. Can you spell it, or is it an acronym?
I've experienced sexual assault.
Okay, all right.
Multiple times.
Oh, S.
Essay.
I'm sorry.
That's like the internet version of like not saying it so that the algorithms don't block you.
Yeah. Okay. Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now you get it.
There we go. You just watched Josh process that in real time. Okay.
But the reason that I can say it now is because so many people have said it as well. I'm standing on the shoulders of the people who have talked about it before me. Okay. Whereas 20 years, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you would not be sitting in a public forum talking about it. The shame that's associated with it is the reason we isolate ourselves. It's, again, not the event, not the thing that happened, but how we take cultural context, societal context, that community context into consideration is how we respond to things. And so that's why I'm working on my PhD in trauma and disaster relief. And the reason that it's trauma and disaster relief is because there's so much combined between trauma and community.
Yeah.
And
so like
how
if you
much-
lose your community to a fire, like holy cow, right? Like that's.
But you all have had that experience
Right.
together. You've had that traumatic experience together. So it's not as harsh of a reality to face.
Okay, so we're bringing this back to a little bit, and I think this has made sense to me in so many ways around mental performance and being successful in business. But if we find ourselves as a person who finds it difficult to share or to find that community around trauma or shared trauma, like what's a baby step we could take to start getting to that place?
So there are two things that are fundamental and foundational to any of what we're talking about.
Okay.
What is vulnerability? Can someone tell me what vulnerability is?
You have to wait for the microphone. Who wants it? Come on, someone be vulnerable and tell us what vulnerability is. All right, Heather.
I'll take a stab at it. Being able and willing to share openly and being real.
Yeah, for sure.
In that sharing.
Does anybody else want to add to that, or?
Oh yeah. Carolyn, right? Okay. Thank you. We'll give you a round of applause at the end, Lauren.
I think vulnerability is the ability to be truthful and honest with where you're
sure.
presently at.
So in the simplest of forms, vulnerability is opening yourself up to the opportunity to being judged. It's that judged component.
Get out of here, I hate that.
Right? But I mean, like, that's what vulnerability is. And I talked to Morgan about it as well after her presentation of like, what is true vulnerability? You know, it's opening yourself up to having that opportunity to be judged, and you're not going to open it up to everyone all at the same time, because that's not managing the situation.
And you're
right?
not going to open everything up that would be judged, right? Okay.
And I talk about it as a house. So you meet someone, you meet a stranger on the street and you bond and you have a great conversation. And so you invite them over to a barbecue in the backyard.
Yeah.
They're not yet allowed into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe after you get to know them a little bit better, then they can come inside the house and hang out on the couch. You watch a movie, you have coffee, whatever it is inside the house. But that same stranger that you met on the street, that first day that you met them, you're not going to take them into your child's bedroom, right? That's just not going to happen. The same thing with vulnerability. You don't just let everyone in all at once. You have to have those safeguards in place so that you can be vulnerable, so you can find your community, but you have to take it step by step to protect yourself.
Okay, so that was one, you said. Now
The second part is boundaries.
Okay.
What are boundaries? right? Right?
Did you hear that? She said, I wish I knew. Okay. Oh, Jillian.
Yeah?
Oh, here we go.
Go, Carolyn.
I tell my clients and anybody who will listen, a boundary is kind of this bubble that you create on your own terms that keep me whole, safe, and stoked.
Whole, safe, and stoked.
Stoked.
So it's a boundary within
I
Love
will
that.
legit steal that. So
whole,
thank you.
safe,
sorry.
and stoked.
She's a stoked coach, so, she has to throw it in.
I love it.
great.
Okay.
So, you want to go? Yeah?
Yeah. We need to put it on like a paper airplane. Oh, thanks.
I think
I
of them
love
as
that.
the terms and
Terms and
conditions.
conditions. I'm gonna take that one. Let's put the two of that together. But so boundaries are not telling someone this is how you treat me. It's if you treat me that way, this is how I'm going to respond to it. It's setting the tone of this is what I'm willing to take as a person, no matter what you give. Because that other person, you can't control them. You can only control the controllables. So you can control your response to it. So the foundation to everything is being vulnerable, which helps you be authentically who you are. And then boundaries to protect that vulnerability. That you are not going to stay in an unsafe space. You will vacate it. You will dictate how you respond to it. So having those two things combined together is the foundation to any kind of performance.
Can we workshop that a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a partner or a spouse or a boss or a coworker that I don't like how they're treating me, and it's routine and it's often. And you're saying you can't change them. So
Correct.
It's not, this is how you're going to treat me. It's, you said, this is what I'm willing to take. What does that look like?
So if it's a boss that's treating you poorly, that repetition is because you're allowing them to treat you that way.
Okay.
That's why it's continuously happening. So what you have to do is maybe leave the situation, maybe walk away and be like, hey, I think we need to take 5. Even if you have to, I always love getting people to find their phrase. So, okay, I'm gonna spill the beans a little bit.
Does Trevor know your phrase?
Nobody knows my safe word.
Okay. That's a different business, Brew.
But so if you get an email from me that says, my apologies, I'm not really saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if I say, I'm truly sorry about this, that, and the other thing, that is me actually apologizing for or saying sorry and feeling remorse for it. So I always love to prepare people, that practice component of, if this happens, then this is how I'm going to respond. If this happens, this is how I'm going to respond. So it's the the plug and play of like, these are the systems and processes that I need to support myself to handle these difficult situations. So if that's like your boss comes at you and they're like, why haven't you finished this? Why haven't you done this? And they start berating you, then you're like, hey, I need a timeout. I need to go grab a coffee. I need to, like, whatever that catchphrase is for you. And again, you have to practice it.
Okay.
It doesn't mean like, oh, I say this one phrase and then they're like, okay, sure, let's go. It's data point. You have to get that data. You have to figure out what works for you in that situation and then repeat it over and over again, because then that's going to create that boundary so that they don't continuously come at you with that energy.
So are you saying yours was my apologies?
That's like if something happens and I need to apologize, if there's a situation where it's like, oh, I'm sorry that happened, like my non-committal apology is, I apologize for this.
So I guess a really easy takeaway from that is if I feel like my boundaries are being encroached on, having that catchphrase that I rely on gives me, like, puts me in that place where I can either remove myself from the situation or state what I need or whatever, right? So it's almost like a default setting.
Yeah.
If I learn it, right? My default setting is, you know what, or whatever the catchphrase is.
Because as your system starts to elevate, as you start to feel the stress bubbling up, that's when you have to catch it, not when it's full-blown burnout. You have to catch it in the process and be like, oh wait, this is happening, so therefore I need to throw this phrase in that then lowers the tension, lowers the temperature in the room, lowers my energy output so that I can manage this situation. So I can manage my emotions in this situation.
Okay, I like that. So that kind of goes back to the two things around how do we get comfortable doing these things, and it's one, what is, understanding vulnerability and that you don't have to put it all out there all the time for everyone.
Yep.
And then two, it's establishing boundaries and maybe starting with a catchphrase that allows you that space to even just walk away if you know you're getting amped.
Like, I was just thinking about this, like there used to be smoking breaks, right? Right?
Yeah, but like how powerful, sorry.
But I mean, like how powerful it is to take a break, to walk away from work for 15 minutes.
But that's not culture anymore, right? We don't have the smoke break, and now nobody takes breaks.
And
right?
now everybody's burnt out. So what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, we need to build back in those breaks so that we can, go for a walk, walk around the building, stretch, do some breathing. Like, another thing for a lot of people talk about meditation.
Yeah.
I can't meditate because I start to ruminate. Right?
Yeah.
That's actually what I'm doing my dissertation on.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that like we have these prescriptions of like, oh, why don't you sit quietly by yourself and think about like clear your mind? And it's like, well, if you've experienced trauma, certain types of trauma, like you are in your head, you're stuck in your head, you're stuck in this cycle in your head. So sitting quietly is not going to work for me. But I talk about meditative activities. So going for a walk, for me, it's baking, kneading dough. Anything that produces a repetitious behavior can be meditative.
Yeah. It's like, what do they call it? The runner's high. Like they're out there and they're running and they get so into it, they don't even really,
But so that's another thing, that's being in the flow.
Yeah.
And so in the flow is when everything comes together seamlessly. All of your practice, all of your preparation, it all comes together and you are in that moment, at that moment.
Okay. I've taken so many notes and I have so many questions, but I want to make sure we're getting your questions answered. Anything? Anybody have something? Yeah. Where's the mic? Where did it? Oh, it's right there. I got you.
So I wanted to go back to boundaries because I was just thinking like I cannot solve a problem I don't think I have. And so I don't know, like my body has that autonomic response because of the trauma or past. How do you define what you need in order to establish a boundary? Because I can't reinforce a boundary if I don't know what I need. So how do you find that need?
That in that moment you start to feel something. So the first step to understanding what you need is first awareness that you need something, right? And so if something adjusts in your body, if something changes in your body, then that is a data point saying, maybe I need to reevaluate what's going on here.
So the hardware is telling the software, got to pay attention.
There might be a glitch in the system.
We just aren't very good at that, right?
We are taught to forget it, to ignore it, to keep pushing forward, pushing onward. That is how we are indoctrinated into the society we currently live. That we are, from a kid, like how many times did a parent tell you to stop crying? How many times did a parent say like, get your shit under control, or, like you're not gonna talk to a 5-year-old like that, but like, how many times as a kid, as a teenager, were you told not to do something? Because it wasn't okay, so instead of saying, no, don't do that, ask, why is this happening? Why are you doing that? Why are you crying? Like, let's be curious about what's going on. Let's be curious about the situation. And then that takes it from, I am stressed out to, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So have you found that to be transformative for your clients, is trying to walk through that and change their work culture?
So
or
it's
their
different
culture with their
dynamics, of
employees?
course, for different work environments, whether that is like someone who is middle management and has like a whole stream of people above them, a whole stream of people below them. Also C-suite, it's very different as well. So I approach it differently. So as like a manager, a director, you know, within those contexts, it's like, how do I co-regulate above and below? You have multiple different relationship dynamics. Whereas if you own the company or your C-suite, you have to look at yourself and what you're doing that is then causing that to be the company culture, right? Because and this is where like trauma-informed leadership training comes into play, of if I'm not emotionally regulating myself, if I'm not open to that feedback, if I'm not curious about my employees, then I am creating a toxic company culture, or I'm not contributing to a more positive company culture. And so the trauma component of that, the trauma-informed, is not saying everybody here needs to be a therapist, right? We're not gonna all become therapists overnight. It's more acknowledging that everybody comes into a room with baggage. We don't leave the baggage at the door. We don't come in with a clean slate. We all have something going on. And so what I've worked with a lot of my clients on is, how do I assess my own emotional state? How do I assess my employee or coworker's emotional state? And how do I help regulate that system? Because again, we're all connected, we're all intertwined with each other. So how do I take ownership of what I can control and control that, and not try to control the entire room? Does that answer your question?
I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you were saying earlier around, you know, noticing what's going on with our hardware. I mean, a simple step, like you said, we can't just be a counselor or a therapist as a leader, but everybody's got hardware. We could even take cues from our team and what their bodies are doing in a moment or in a conversation, because they're probably telling us a lot, like folded arms or clenched or whatever. We can use that as a place to start as well.
So one of my favorite things is to call people on shit.
Okay.
And so the folded arms, in many cases, like we've been taught that this means like, I'm not interested, I'm not. This is a self-soothing position.
I know, that's what it's comfortable, right?
But it's also like, I'm connecting with myself, right? It's giving yourself a hug. So it's also that's where the extreme depths of emotional intelligence come into play, is how's the rest of their body language? How's the rest of their facial expressions?
Because this could be in and of itself harmless.
Right.
It might be paired with something else, and that could indicate something different.
Exactly.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, a good place to start, right? Just paying attention to nonverbal cues that you're getting, which, I mean, sometimes is easier said than done, right?
But if you think of it as data points and not what it is in that moment, you become more curious about it. And it's the curiosity that will lead to lowering the temperature in the room, to causing less stress, less, emotional arousal.
Yeah. Okay. You ready for more?
Yeah.
Any other
I'm
questions?
always ready for more.
Okay, so if we could, I know you've given so many just really practical things: breathe, stretch, right? Going back to vulnerability, understanding what vulnerability is, and then understanding what boundaries are. But like, what are some other tips that you might have for how to show up under pressure? Because that was something that you said as we were talking about this, like showing up under pressure.
So we all have a capacity set, right? And our capacity could be here, our capacity could be here. And so the practice and the baby steps help us increase our capacity for stress. And so stress on its own is not a bad thing. It's not negative. It's information, right? When it becomes too much, that means that our capacity is too small for that environment, for that stressor. So just as much as building confidence is the baby steps, it's the everyday small things that matter the most. When it comes to stress, your tolerance, your capacity for tolerance of stress can grow over time. So then your body's not reacting as it being negative. So the reason that we have an elevated heart rate, our nervous system starts to ping and go off, is because your brain is set up for survival. So as soon as you sense any kind of danger, your body's going to react as if it's danger. So that capacity is built on, oh, that's not dangerous anymore. That's not a danger for me. In our environment that we're in, like, having someone approach you is not danger, whereas maybe in a different context it would be danger, right? And we need to have that ability. We need to have those survival techniques ingrained in us. It comes from where humans came from, from the caves, from having that lion. But we need to train ourselves. We have to practice that endurance of being able to recognize, oh, that's not danger. That is just whatever it is.
How do we do that?
Baby steps.
What's the first baby step?
Well, so number one is data, that awareness component of like, okay, in this situation, this is how I'm reacting. Like today, I was fine, and then my heart rate started to go. And so how did I address that situation? I had us all breathe together, right? So I took it upon myself to start breathing deeper. So now that stressor is not there.
And I like what you said at the beginning, that once you acknowledge it, your brain puts it in the past, and then it's already happened.
Well, your body has already experienced it, so your brain's trying to catch up with it.
The data.
To the data.
Oh, we got a question. Throw the mic, paper airplane it. Thanks, Lauren.
Maybe less of a question and more of a statement. I said the story about the most stressful day, right? So that ended with me picking up a Pizza Hut large pan pizza dish, which is about a 1/4-inch thick piece of steel. I grabbed it and I threw it, and it went through a plate glass window to the walk-in refrigerator. So, but again, she says that your body does it before you even process it. I was so stressed, I just did it, right? And then I was like, oh shit!
Why are
How
our
many times
brains
have you
so
done
slow to
something and
catch
been
up?
like, uh-oh. Why are our brains so
It's
slow to
not
catch
that our
up?
brains are so slow to catch up, is that we've disconnected our systems so much. It's like, I'm going to have the hardware over here and the software over here, and they're not going to talk to each other except for maybe once a month. It's
like mindfulness. It's just practicing.
But I mean, like, it's professional organizations. How many organizations have you seen where marketing's not talking to sales, not talking to R&D, right? Like, we've all experienced that.
Unsuccessful ones.
But I mean, like, that's what your body is trying to do, is trying to come back together, and it only knows certain signals. So you have to reprogram those signals to work together in tandem, work as a cohesive system. So just as much as you would overhaul a business, you have to overhaul how you are approaching things, because if you keep approaching things the exact same way, you're going to get the exact same results.
Speaking of different things now compared to 10, 20 years ago, more people are not working around other people. They're working from home remotely. So speak to the ramifications of that. What are you seeing in terms of a healthy environment versus maybe a place where people can't
Yeah, I love
get
this
that
question
kind of
because I do
interplay?
technology as well. And so we have to realize, just as much as in the Industrial Revolution, that things changed. We don't work as a society in the same capacity. The same thing is happening now with technology, being remote workers, being so spread out, is that we're seeing a lot of these like smaller communities that don't allow cars popping up everywhere because we need that human connection. And so a big part of what I'm seeing, and what you're probably seeing as well, is that there needs to be new ways to do those same things. So like multiple different businesses here I know have like online cohorts, have online groups where like a bunch of women get together, a bunch of men get together, and they all connect over something, some commonality. It's because we miss that human connection with so much technology. Like, that's why we started Hike with Her, is because of that community resilience comes from us being a community, and we all need that. And like, I'll touch on it a little bit of like the male isolation epidemic is that I am shameful of where I am. I haven't had to challenge myself in such a capacity. And so we instinctually go on our own. We isolate ourselves, which we need to reach out. We need to be more connected. And so with all of people working from home and, you know, myself included, like finding opportunities to reconnect with people, to go out, to reach out. But that also takes two, right? You need other people to reach back. And so maybe that's the challenge today is how do you make sure that you're reaching back?
Oh, we did, okay. He's trying to multitask, run the camera and ask a question
I
and
love
pay
it.
attention.
You're involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mike, I guess kind of a comment and a question. So trauma bonding is a thing, you know, when you go through something together that's traumatic with others, you know, you have that bond, like,
Yeah.
you know, boot camp famously is that for soldiers. Can you talk about, like, maybe the pitfalls or pros and cons of that? You know, the first one that I'm chewing on this that popped into my mind was if you go trauma bond, you have that with somebody, I think you have sometimes this false sense of, I don't know if I'd say intimacy, but like, you know that person now just because you went through that thing, but their life is way deeper than that one experience. So maybe talk about the pitfalls of,
No, I appreciate that you kind of gave a definition
bonding,
with it as
I guess.
well. And that's why I have you define boundaries. That's why I have you define vulnerability, because the definition matters so much in a world of misinformation. That trauma bonding, a lot of people think not only is it we experience this together, but oh, we both have trauma, so therefore we're bonding over our trauma. And that's not trauma bonding, right? So trauma bonding being we experience this thing together. And yeah, like there's so much profound in that, but we need to be multi-dimensional human beings. And if you build your personality and everything around that trauma experience, that bonded experience, then you become one-dimensional and more susceptible to other traumas because you have opened yourself up to these other things happening because you are defined by this one thing on its own. So being multifaceted human beings, and I think that's where like the male isolation comes from, is I am defined as a man based on this one criteria. Whereas us women, we talk about it all the time that we're moms, we're teachers, we're professionals, we're friends, we're wives, we're daughters, or you know whatever that is that going back to what Morgan was saying about how you have this timeline of stories that we are not defined by one thing that happened in our storyline. It's the accumulation of our stories that defines us and how we experience life. So to your point, like having that one thing, that one instance that happened to us becomes the definition of who we are, then that creates additional impact. It doesn't stop there. Nothing stops. It's a matter of, do I move forward or do I sit in this moment and not leave this moment? And that's very easy for me to say, but I've also had 20 some odd years of therapy to be able to sit here and say these things. You know, it takes a lot to move the needle and a lot of awareness, a lot of those data points, and figuring out like, okay, does data work for me, or does awareness work for me, or does calling it something else work?
I like the way that you keep framing it as data points, because I think we're all aware that we need to pay attention to what our body is telling us and the signals, and there's a lot of ways that gets put. But data points is just like a really nice, almost clinical way to think about it, and it removes a lot of that, like, oh, it's just a data point, right? It's just information, and I really appreciate that. We have time for maybe one more question. If somebody has a burning thought, you want to pass by Stephanie? No? Oh, here we go. Thank you. You're crushing it today.
Can you go back to how do we prevent traumatic or an event
Yeah,
become
so
a traumatic
making sure that it
event?
stays as trauma and not traumatic, like that adversity, like even reframing it as adversity, something that you aren't expecting, something that is, not warrant necessarily. That adversity is, something that we're up against all the time. We experience it every day, all day. But the reason that it doesn't become traumatic is because of the infrastructure, that connectivity, the connective tissue that brings us all together. So that's having a network of people that you can call on. That's having resources available, whether that's a professional or your best friend or a parent or a child or someone that you can connect with. Yeah, you can call me. I'm one of those people as well. But having that network there to support you is the key to all of it.
So basically reach out to people.
Reach out, yeah. And I know that is hard, but that's where the vulnerability and boundaries come into play, is knowing who to reach out to, who you can reach out to, but also framing it, hey, something happened and I really need someone to talk to. I'm not asking you, I know this is a thing that I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm asking you to listen to it and making that claim up front of this is what I need. Mm-hmm. And that is so hard for us to do. It's to ask for what we need. And we all fall short of that all the time. But that's how you heal. That's how you bounce back. That's how something doesn't become traumatic, is by asking for that support. And so we need to make that more, more common. Make that the norm.
My friend Emily says it is frustration versus feedback, right?
Yeah.
Are you expressing frustration or are you looking for feedback, right? Yeah.
And then just kind of tying it back to performance psychology, it's skills and drills based. So what drills can I run? Just as much as you're preparing for a fire, you're preparing for an earthquake, you're running those drills. What do I need to do on a regular basis to set up that foundation so that if something does happen, or better yet, when something does happen, I know exactly what I'm going to do in that instance.
Awesome. All right. Do you have? Yeah.
Where is journaling coming into the equation? Is that also an outlet that can help, or are you saying no, you need to reach out to people? Journaling and trying to process it yourself may not be
I like to reframe
successful way to do it,
because like myself, I'm not going to sit down and journal at night. It's not my thing. But I take notes all the time, and that's a form of journaling. So I think journaling or note-taking or writing down what you went through that day or the things that you have to do tomorrow, that's a form of mental offloading. You're offloading stuff that's in your head. So from that perspective, it is very valuable in the case that you're okay, I'm not going to keep this inside of me anymore. I'm going to let it out. But some things you do need to talk to people about, and some things maybe you just need to journal about. And that's for you to determine what kind of support you need in that moment.
Awesome. Well, round of applause for Stephanie. This was really great.